All right. Hi, everyone. We're back for Women's Webinar Wednesdays, and I'm going to be talking about something that I get way too many questions, requests about, and it's this one. So we're going to dive right in because it's going to be a lot of content I'm going to try to pack in the next 30 to 45 minutes. So, how to get public speaking opportunities via virtual events. This one, I think for this year, many of you are going to want to be able to really position yourself for speaking engagement opportunities, just opportunities in general to get your thought leadership out there, to transform how you elevate your career. And this topic, public speaking in general, has always been something that people have asked me about. Like, how do you get your speaker bookings? How do you get access? How do you travel? How do you engage? How do you leverage the virtual online space? I'm going to talk about all of it in the next couple of seconds. So let's get into it. So, first and foremost, this session, we're going to talk about how to essentially kick off your speaker career. And for those of you who already have received speaking engagements, if you want to make this a continuous part of your career in the sense that you want to be more professional with your speaking engagements, you want to be able to make it a continuous stream of income, this conversation is also for you. You're going to learn how to leverage this industry shift that's happening right now within the event industry as we speak to build a public speaking career that leads to influence and new revenue stream. So if this is what you're here for, you're in the right place. All right. So obviously, I'm talking to my thought leaders, my influencers, my tech enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, those of different backgrounds. If you are on the call, especially my professional corporate ladies, please tune in, knock everything out. Make sure you have your notes and paper and pad because we're going to be talking about a lot of great content today. And I want to make sure you don't miss every part of it. So by introduction, my name is Ntim. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm an influencer in the tech ecosystem space. I'm a mother, a wife. My career has spanned so many different spectrums over the past couple years. I've been a banker. I've generated revenue generating companies. I've been featured in media outlets. I have spoken at over 300 plus conferences around the world, hence this conversation that we're having today. And as a serial entrepreneur, people know me through the ventures that I've created, launched, and sustained over the past couple of years. And of course, I work with some of the biggest brands globally. So I'm so excited for those of you who are on a personal brand journey of really taking your career and your life to the next level. Topics like this one is so crucial to your success. So I'm really glad to formally introduce myself and kick off this conversation. And for those of you who want to have a more extended conversation about how to really navigate your career, definitely join me live during the Personal Brand Accelerator program. It's my experience that, teaching this thing in terms of personal branding. It's not easy to do with one-off sessions like this one. This is a multi-week exclusive program run by me where I'm able to share with you how to build, scale, create, and monetize your personal brand. So with that said, if you want more information, check me out at christinentim.com. Without further ado, let's dive into the session. So today we're going to talk about how to get public speaking opportunities via virtual events. And the agenda is going to be very clear where I'm going to start by having a conversation and giving you an introduction to events in general. Then I'm going to talk to you about some key event trends that you need to be aware of so that way you can position yourself properly. And I'm going to share with you my secret system about, how I'm able to attract so many great targeted speaking engagements throughout the year. Many of you always see flyers and promotions of me speaking at so many different programs around the world. I will share with you how I'm able to do that. Then I'm going to share with you how to take that system that I created to get speaker bookings and taking it digital, how to leverage being pretty much engaging in speaking engagements from home, right? And then I'll conclude with a way that you could be able to take this conversation to the next level via my exclusive public speaker booking program opportunity. So let's get started. So I want to start with the basics because I'm going to go into so much content over the next hour that I want to make sure that you guys have a clear understanding and starting point on what is an actual event. By definition, it's an activity that is planned for a specific purpose and usually involves the convening of one or more people. That is it, the simplicity behind what an event is. So with that said, who is a public speaker, right? Because if we're going to talk about public speaker bookings, you got to know what role you're stepping into as a public speaker. Public speaker, also called oratory, is the act or skill of delivering speeches on a subject before a live audience, right? Very, very simple. So if you are able to step in that space, maybe people hold public speaking as a big fear. It's one of the top fears that a lot of people have around the world. But also, it's a very lucrative career opportunity. It's also a very credible opportunity for you to be able to engage with different audiences around the world. And so, public speaking, especially as we as a society have gone digital, has been a very, very key part of people's career strategy and planning as they move along, right? So, with that said, what is now a public speaker career business, right? And essentially, it's a business that generates income via created or curated content delivered to clients or audiences via a public speaking engagement. So, if you want to go beyond just speaking organically for free or just ad hoc with certain networks in your community, but you want to make this a serious business endeavor, a business venture where you're able to actually sustain some type of income through this and some type of like credibility through this over time, then you are trying to create a public speaker business. And I'm going to share with you bits and pieces of how to do that during this session. It's not as hard as you really think, because public speaking company will give you obviously an opportunity to speak in front of so many different audiences, so many different industry professionals. You're able to meet potential clients, establish credibility, and set your own fees for capital structures, honorarium fees, and so on and so forth. So that's the essence of a public speaker business. So when should you actually launch a speaker career? I get this question all the time. When is the best time to do this? The best time was actually yesterday, because seriously, like, it's getting harder and harder to stand out from the crowd, to make yourself known and recognizable in front of many different influencers. And when you look at the event industry in general, the global events industry market is currently, or actually as a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, was valued at $1.1 trillion as of 2019, but projected to hit $2.1 trillion by 2032. Keep in mind that stats was pre-pandemic. So that probably tripled just over the past couple of years, as more and more people are realizing that people convening is a big part of the global economy. A lot of people didn't really respect the events industry prior to the pandemic, but convening in any shape or form to close a client, to close a deal, to host an event, to build a conference, to bring people together is a huge, huge industry and is growing. So again, the best time to launch a speaker career was yesterday. The second best time is actually today. So you're in the right place at the right time. So congrats, you're here. Let's talk a little bit more about this. So just to elaborate on this, Forbes wrote a really great article, especially considering the conversation around post-pandemic world when it comes to events, stating that virtual and hybrid events are more than just a COVID era fix, right? That essentially that experience where we're all going virtually online during the 2020 pandemic is actually here to stay, right? Obviously, many of you have seen that you're doing more meetings online. You're signing up for more webinars, more online workshops, more conferences. I mean, look at your own behavior pattern. You are consuming more virtual events online, which means if you want to get on the other side of that table where you're providing value as a public speaker online, you have a huge market that's opening up more and more as time passes. So this is a great time to jump in as this culture is shifting, right? And so when you're looking at the trends and shifts in society and what's happening, we're experiencing a huge collision right now of culture where people now have assimilated to the thought, like I said before, right, of consuming events and engaging and networking with people online through webinars, online workshops, online master classes, online conferences, online summits, online retreats, online just boot camps in general. The culture has shifted, right? Where people are coming online to engage and network with people. Also, the technology has also been enhanced. Now there's so many different platforms for you to be able to kick off your speaking career and go virtual, literally just like that. I mean, everyone knew about the darling Cinderella company that really made headlines in 2020, which was Zoom, but there were so many other platforms to this day that's competing for the virtual online space for people to be able to host and master online events. So the technology is here, and the technology is very cheap. You have free platforms to go on. You have premium platforms to go on. The point is, you have no excuse to not leverage the technology that's at your fingertips to be able to go virtual. And then last but not least, as stated before, the industry is changing. I remember when I was hosting events, and and listen, our company, we host mega six-figure events around the world, across the United States, across Europe, across emerging markets. And I will tell you, the event industry was really ran by people who had the vendor relationship, the partner relationships, the sponsor relationship, the credibility to bring massive amounts of people together. Because of the shift in the culture and the technology combined at such a rapid pace, the industry now has opened itself to newbies and newcomers who have no event management or event hosting experience to join into the industry, which is why the industry is growing so much. So you have people like everyday people like you and me who are just coming online right now and hosting conferences, hosting workshops, and hosting webinars. So there's a huge seismic shift that's happening that is giving you momentum, by the way, for you to be able to launch a public speaking career. And where do you stand on this side of history is going to really determine how you position yourself and take into literally the trend that's really only going upwards from here on out, right? So be very mindful of these shifts. So with that said, why should you become a public speaker? And not just a public speaker on occasion, sometimes ad hoc, like for real. Why should you make this an instrumental part of your career journey today? First and foremost, it's an amazing way to create immediate credibility in your marketplace, right? I can't tell you enough. When I was building and launching my companies, and to this day, me speaking at events creates such huge credibility because there's no hiding. If I'm really in an industry, if I'm really making waves in my industry, when I talk about it, when I give those thought leadership and those aspirational information and content, people are able to say like, look, she knows her stuff. I could attest to that because I see what she's speaking about and I could, engage with that content. So it's an amazing way to build credibility. Second, is great for attracting new career opportunities. You got to understand when you're speaking on main stages and speaking to global audiences, you have a diverse set of audiences right before you. So you never know what they could pitch you. They could pitch you book deals, opportunities, partnerships, new speaking engagements that lead to new career opportunities. The point is like, because now you're dealing with a one-to-many scenario on a consistent basis, you're exposing yourself to a huge breadth of new career opportunities that can really accelerate your career and your life, right? Obviously, the third biggest reason is that you're able to generate income passively, right? Because now you're getting, consistent speaker deal flow that can be able to really grow your wealth portfolio over time. And then finally, again, because of the trends and the shifts that's happening right now, it's actually really easy to build a public speaker profile and a public speaking career literally from home by leveraging all the digital resources that are available to you at hand, right? So this is the who, what, when, why reasons for really engaging in being a public speaker and making a public speaker business a part of your strategy. Because again, right now, 6 feet of space can take you global, right? Just from your work desk, you could be influencing and engaging with thousands of people around the world. I know it because privately, I deal with corporate clients virtually. I deal with partner clients. I go live on social. Like I reach hundreds of people on a regular basis, on a weekly basis through virtual programming, right? So I can attest to the fact that this is a great way to really gain so much momentum when it comes to your career. And like stated before, you're able to reach new audiences beyond your geographic limitation, right? Obviously, in the past, you had to travel, go to different countries to be able to engage with new audiences. Now you could do that from your space, right? And of course, go virtual as the world is getting into this digital space and become more of a digital interconnected world. You are creating a digital footprint around the world with your thought leadership, with your engagement, your energy. People are engaging with you globally. So I can speak to this personally. Like, I could be right now, I'm speaking from New York, and I could be literally connecting with people across the Caribbean, across Africa, across the Middle East, across Europe, and build digital credibility to the point that when I meet these people in person, it's almost like we've known each other for a long time. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on speaking engagements, both privately and publicly, and, engage with my audiences online. And then when they finally meet me, like, hey, I feel like I know you. I feel like I've engaged with you because we've engaged together for such a long time in the virtual space. So that digital footprint is going to be very, very helpful for you in the long run, right? And as shared before, I've done it. And so I want to share with you, like I'm speaking from experience, right? From speaking on global stages where I on a regular reach out to and speak to thousands of people in a room, both on major stages around the world, some of the top conferences. You can literally Google my name and you can see all the events the breadth of events that I've spoken at, right? But also like right here in my chair, literally just via this virtual medium, right? That I'm able to engage with so many different people online. So I have over the years engaged with hundreds of speaking engagements, over 360 and counting, right? And I could tell you my journey into building my speaker career was not as targeted and direct as I would like it to seem, which is why I want to share with you that journey so that way you don't repeat some of the mistakes I did when I started kicking off my career. But also, I'm going to share with you some of the nuances of building a public speaker profile and building a public speaking career, because things have changed since the past 10 years that I kicked off and started down this avenue of success and lifestyle when it comes to my career journey. And so, first and foremost, I started my career in the banking industry, did really, really well. And I quit my banking job to move to Dubai because I've heard so much about the country, so much about, the opportunities to really grow and develop. Didn't know anyone in Dubai, by the way, never met a single soul, never been to the country. But that's just my personality. I like to just try new things, put myself against all odds, and just see what comes of it. And it was one of the best career decisions that I made because I rocked Dubai and had such an amazing career and life journey experience moving to Dubai. And when I went to Dubai, I launched my first startup. And my first startup, because I was pitching and trying to, galvanize funding resources for my company, all of a sudden I was on main stages, right, around the world, pitching my company, pitching my startup. Within 2 years, I made the Forbes list because the company was going extremely well, very, very fast, right? And without realizing, when you're pitching your startup, you're also doing some form of public speaking. And as if overnight, my energy, my force, the way I come on stage and I rock the mic, people are like, look, I want to tap into what she's doing, what her thought leadership, because I always went beyond pitching the startup. I was pitching just the industry knowledge I knew, the ecosystem that I built, the resources that I created, every single value proposition and angle that I could provide beyond my startup. I was providing on main stages across the Middle East, where I kicked it off in Dubai and around the world. So all of a sudden, my speaking career kicked off, right? So literally, I started doing multiple speaking engagements. I was speaking at universities. I was speaking at startup conferences, and then it evolved to corporate engagements, and just start piling on. And obviously, once you start really doing well, when you're speaking on global stages and you're in your truth, you're in your power, when you show up with all the swag and energy. People are like, yo, you know your stuff. I feel your energy. I feel your spirit. I feel that you got what it takes to really take things to the next level. People start talking about you. So the bloggers start talking about it. The magazines start talking about it. Then I started getting to mainstream media. And as that started happening, obviously you start meeting the right people, because guess what? You're in this event circuit of people, of influencers, because your thought leadership is starting to open doors for you before you even knock, right? Can you imagine what that feels like, where you got your speaking, your thought leadership opening doors for you, where you don't even need to say, hey, pick up the phone and call someone. People are making calls and engaging and talking about you in a positive light without you even having to do any extra work, because you are making an impact with what you're saying on main stages. That was the flow I was getting into. And quite frankly, what I realized when I kicked off my speaking engagement career, and this is something that I definitely would advise those of you who are on this session trying to learn how to do this yourself, is that I started with creating content around identity. Right? Because there are certain truths that you exist in today that no one can take away from you, right? I see a lot of people try to look at the trends and try to align their speaker topics along with trends so they could be like part of the buzz trend. But you got to walk in your truth. So for example, my identity topics was speaking from a female perspective. So women in leadership, speaking from an entrepreneur perspective, because I was launching a company and I knew the trials and tribulations, the highs and lows of building and scaling a business, building a resilient business, despite all circumstances. I knew the experience of, launching and building tech ecosystems in emerging markets, digital skill streams, because obviously I learned how to code. I built, an entire website, an entire platform while pregnant with my first child. So family planning, being a mother in tech, being a woman in tech, personal branding, strategizing, literally the topics that kicked off my career were my truth, was my journey, was my evolution as an individual. So people were able to resonate with that, connect with that. And guess what? The domino effect kept going because people were like, look, she knows what she's talking about. I can agree to this. I can engage with this. I can learn from this. And that's how the engagements kept going. And as I started evolving obviously my career, my experiences, more and more topics started coming in. But the core kickoff platform was leveraging my truth, leveraging my story to kick off my speaking engagements, right? So I was everywhere, y'all. I was like Visa. You could find me everywhere. Like I was on this stage, this stage, this stage. I was like in Dubai on a Monday. I was in Malaysia on a Tuesday. I was in Kenya, well, really on a Wednesday. But the point is, you get it. I was everywhere. I was at tech conferences. I was at government functions. I was at private sections. I was hosting my own events. I was everywhere. Like, I mean, everywhere. It was too much. Like, everywhere. Like, any engagement that came through my email box, came through my social media feeds, I was like, yes, 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 and yes again. I took it all, right? So I was everywhere. I literally, at one point, I was doing close to 40 plus speaking engagements a year. Like I was constantly on the plane just for speaking engagements alone. And you can imagine I'm still running my businesses. So it was a lot, right? So after 5 years of doing that, being on the speaker circuit, just doing the utmost, speaking at so many different conferences, I actually had speaker burnout. Okay. Now, some of you might be on this call, Christine, I'm not on this call to find out about your speaker burnout because I'm trying to get speaking engagements. There's a reason why I'm sharing this with you because it's important that I share with you the nuances of how to build a speaker profile and a speaker booking career properly because I didn't know this in the beginning. The reality is because I was speaking at so many different engagements, I got burned out. I was constantly on the plane, barely had time to spend with my family. At that time, I was also building my family with my husband, building our lifestyle, had our first set of kids. And it was a lot for 5 years, to be traveling to this conference, this conference, this conference, this conference, dealing with so many different networks at the same time. It's a lot, right? And so I got to a point at the end of the year, that was 2019. I actually made a resolution to just kind of take a step back from speaking engagements in general to kind of realign myself because it was so much. But then the pandemic hit. And a lot of things went online. So I started getting on the virtual speaker circuit and I loved it because I'm like, oh, now I don't have to travel as much. I could just literally connect with my audiences just from my home. I'm like, this is perfect. I can spend more time with my kids. I can engage with my network. I can provide value. This is amazing. And then I had virtual speaker burnout, right? Where I was just like, look, I'm tired. Like there's way too many calls. Because as you guys know, working from home, there's always something that comes up, right? And so even balancing doing my speaking engagements remotely was a lot because again, I was taking so many speaking engagements virtually online during that year. So I had virtual speaker burnout, right? It was a lot because again, at the end of the day, my core identity is as an entrepreneur building my businesses. And speaking engagements was supposed to be an addition to that experience, not to overtake, right? And so it was a lot for me. And so what I realized looking back on both my speaker journey and speaking at global stages around the world in person and the fast track experience that I had speaking at hundreds of conferences in 1 year virtually during the pandemic is that the reason why I experienced burnout wasn't because I was getting a lot of speaking engagements, because a speaker pipeline is great. What was happening is that I wasn't targeted, right? I was taking way too many varied speaking engagements for varied reasons. There was no core focus. It was almost like I was saying yes to everything and not thinking through what would be beneficial for my career objectives and what I wanted to do. So I wasn't targeted. Second, I wasn't really converting the free engagements because keep in mind, when you're taking everything, the majority of those speaking engagements were free, which is good, by the way. I want to share this later on. It's actually great to take on free speaking engagements. There's nothing wrong with that if it fits the mantle that you want to put out there into the universe. However, I wasn't able to really monetize it consistently and use it well. So I'm doing all these different engagements, but I'm not even creating a proper pipeline system for these speaking engagements. And last but not least, and probably the most important thing to me, especially as a wife and a mother of four, I was not having balance. I wasn't balancing my multiple businesses, my speaker career, and my personal life endeavors as a whole. So I was completely imbalanced and I was getting very frustrated, right? So what I realized is that I needed to take a break, and I did. Over the past 2 years, I've actually went on maternity leave twice because I had two kids back to back during that time frame. But it was a great time to take a break and reshift my strategy and apply it immediately. And I came back with force, targeted, on point, and I'm going to share with you what I did to not only actually increase my speaking bookings, but actually target speaking bookings that I actually wanted to do that was beneficial to the communities that I wanted to serve, but also in the long term really add to the credibility and the roadmap that I was trying to create for my career. And so let me show you what I did. What I was trying to do, essentially, I was converting my thought leadership, right, into targeted opportunity, right? Because again, just getting random speaking bookings is not what you want to do. You want to turn them into targeted opportunities, okay? So these experiences start to happen a lot more where now I'm speaking at more conferences and quite frankly, speaking at more elite events, elite programs that are targeted and very, very pertinent to what I want to do. And I was starting to get more recognition for my journey in entrepreneurship in a way that was more manageable, to the point that now some of my biggest clients in my speaking career are brand names that are household names, right? From TEDx to the United Nations to the US Embassy to the State Department to LinkedIn to university campuses like Dartmouth, Columbia, Holt, Tuck, right? To major conferences like the Next Web, Startup Grind, right? You know, speaking for government stakeholders like the SEC, NYC, and corporate clients. So my client network went to the next level because again, I started getting more targeted with what I wanted, right? So essentially, you might be thinking, what was the solution? I finally created a system, y'all. Okay. I finally created a system for how to gain speaking engagements that were exactly what I wanted to do and the topics that fit my domain in a way that leads to more opportunities down the line, but also in a way that was manageable and fruitful for my time and my wellness as a person. And that system that I created is called Scope. And I'm going to share with you what Scope is because it's going to rock your world. I don't think there's anything on the internet right now to share this strategy. And I'm so excited to share my secret strategy with you because, again, I see a lot of people are trying to build a speaker career and are going about it in so many different ways and are struggling. And for those of you who are doing okay, you want to do exponential well, I want to be able to share this secret with you. So here it is. I'm going to share with you my Scope plan, my system. Scope is my proven system for getting targeted speaking engagements. And I want to repeat, targeted. I think anyone on this planet with the right energy and the right vim, you could get a speaking engagement. But what you want is targeted speaking engagements. Okay. You already hear what I went through, going through the cycles. And again, for everyone listening, those of you who know me within my community, you probably saw me speaking on all these different stages. Like, wow, it looks great. But behind the scenes, this is what I was getting to, right? This is the fruit of where I got to. And I'm so grateful for that experience over the past decade to where I am today, right? So my Scope system is pretty much a 5-part system where me and my entire team helped me through this platform where I'm generating the credibility to become a speaker, to get in the right speaker circles, right? Because you want to be in the right circuits, right? That generates opportunity, both economic, career, just deals, flow, entrepreneurial ventures, create the right opportunities for me in a consistent way so I can build pipeline, because you don't want to be chasing after things on a continuous basis. That will definitely lead to burnout, right? So generating opportunities that leads to pipeline, and over time building the right personal brand equity that creates a huge momentum of opportunity over the next couple of years, right? And what I did is I created a cycle where it just feeds into itself right now, where it's just literally an automated business cycle now, where I speak, I get into the right speaker circuits, I generate great opportunities for myself that leads to really great pipeline that creates more personal branding equity over the long run, and that generates more speaking engagement. And this loop cycles go on and on and on and on. And you'll find many of you who watch me online that I've done a really great job of creating this speaker circuit system on a continuous basis throughout the years, no matter what, whether I'm offline, whether I'm online, whether I'm, living in New York, whether I'm traveling to across the African continent, whatever I'm doing, no matter what business I've launched, my speaker circuit is still going. It's still going round and round and round, right? And so I want to share with you how I was able to do that. So how I was able to apply and leverage the scope system for speaker bookings. And so if you have any questions, now is the time to ask, because I'm going to definitely be answering them immediately after the session. So let's dive right into this system that I created to generate speaker bookings. All right. So let's start with the very basics, which is around creating a speaker profile. I can't stress this enough. You cannot be known or respected or addressed as a public speaker if you don't have the public speaking credibility metrics, right? And usually that starts with, what is your speaker resume? If you want to get booked as a speaker, then you need a speaker credentials. And usually that starts with creating content that shows your thought leadership, but also packaging that thought leadership. A lot of people are really great, got great thought leadership. Maybe you engage online on a regular basis. You do the work of supporting people behind the scenes, but you haven't packaged this. And I'm all about marketing. If you don't know how to package yourself well, you're just not going to generate the resources to get speaker bookings, right? So there's 3 ways to do this. And depending on what level of your journey you are, anyone could do this literally like within the next couple of days, right? So the first things first is, if you don't have it already, create a speaker one pager, right? A speaker one pager has like pretty much an overview of who you are, how people could connect with you, the topics that you like to speak on, the accolades and achievements that you've done within your career, to really showcase that authority level, previous clients that you've spoken for, where you've been featured, right? Available information like the formats that you want to speak in a short bio. This is a example of a speaker one pager that I have that literally, when I want to get booked for speaking engagements, I send over. It's very simple, very direct, very clear. It's not too crazy, and it's easy for people to understand, right? And for those of you who are very new to building your speaker career, don't get overwhelmed by having all the logos in town. You have done something in your life that has created credibility. This is a living document. It's like your speaker resume, right? The same way you have a job resume to show all the job functions that you've done. This is the speaker resume, where it literally is 5 key areas that you need to cover, right? So the topics, the accolades, the bio, right? The thought leadership that you can provide, and also the credibility metrics. And the credibility metrics is the companies that you've launched or been a part of, previous clients, and where you've been featured, right? So you could clearly see that. And of course, I have it in different formats. So this is a branded content piece where you could even create something like this on Canva, but I also have a Word document, and a Word document that has my bio and information and photo. Very easy for someone to download, share, copy and paste for websites when it comes to marketing and promoting me on, speaker flyers and images and campaign messages. So I make it very simple to do this. And this is something that every single person should have. If you don't have this, make sure to comment speaker flyer on the comments, and I'll be sure to DM you with access to my template for this rubric. But it's really important that you have this. So that's step 1. Have a speaker one pager, right? Step 2 is to leverage social media to get more speaking engagement. So you guys know I'm a huge supporter of LinkedIn. It's been a great avenue for getting speaking engagements over the past, and other career opportunities in general. But this is literally like my billboard. It's for free, guys, right? So literally, I post anytime I have a speaking engagement, I post it on social media and LinkedIn, but I also share topics and concerns that I could really address in the market that people could book me for, right? And so you leveraging social media, especially a page like LinkedIn, is a great way to do that. And I've done so many different strategies that I'll share with you later on today, like how I'm able to convert speaking engagements just through LinkedIn alone. But again, it's really important that you're aware that you have to have a way to engage people and create that speaker persona on your page. If you see my headboard there, I share right there that I'm an entrepreneur, global speaker, and a tech ecosystem builder. It's right there on my banner. So as soon as you see me pop, you see me. And I talk about women in tech, personal branding, entrepreneurship, technology, digital skills, career strategy, Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America, right? So it's very clear that I'm letting you know that I'm a thought leader. I speak. I told you right there in my title, this is what I'm about. So again, promoting yourself and your content through your LinkedIn profile. And the last one, and this is one that I feel like a lot of people make excuses for, but it could be just a one-page slider, just a digital footprint on the internet, which is your website, right? And your website page got to be very clear to have three things. It needs to have your bio. You need to have, like, if you see here, the headboard above the fold on my website, right, where it's christinantim.com/speaking, I have, again, the three thought words that associate with my credibility as a person within my career. Global speakers right there ahead of that. And I tell people I help women succeed in the digital space, right, through my entrepreneurial career journey. Makes sense, right? So this information is really, really key. And I make it also very, very easy, right, for people to be able to find me and engage with me online, right? Excuse me. So this makes it very simple for people to be able to say, okay, I like what I see the videos. And a lot of times people don't record themselves or have some type of photo or images of them in action. I have that because a lot of times if someone engaging with your speaker profile for the first time, they need to experience it either through photo or video in some type of form. They can't stop with just your summary and your one pages. So if you have that available, you put that in, again, an easy way for someone to book you online. So very, very simple, right? So that's my website one pager. Okay. So once you created that first step, right, where you created a speaker profile, and I showed you 3 different ways to do that, which is through a speaker one pager, your social media feed, or through your website. Now you're prepared to get into the right speaker circuits. And a speaker circuit is pretty much getting into the right circles where people will reference you or notice you or have visibility of you and your work and why they should book you for a speaking engagement. Here's what that looks like. So what is an event speaker circuit? It's pretty much, in the world of event organizers, you see sometimes the same people speaking on the same topics on a constant loop, right? People who are really good and are in the right speaker circuits, you see them on a repeated basis. So for me, I am constantly getting invites for women events, entrepreneurship events, tech events, right? Fundraising events. Like, people are constantly booking me for these topic and thought leaders shape topics because I'm in the right speaker circuits, right? And so one thing I would say is what you'll find is, like, different topics create different speaker bubble circles where a lot of these ecosystem operating styles. So the speaker circuit for, let's say, I'm a Haitian American diaspora who works in Ghana at times, right? The speaker circuit for me getting bookings in New York is very different than the speaker circuit that exists for speaker bookings in, let's say, Ghana, right? And so I gotta be able to be smart enough to be able to get visibility where, even though I'm visible in this arena, in this area, in this geographic location, I'm trying to create visibility in this area as well, right? And so for those of you who find that, look, like, I'm trying to get visibility in this topic, in this niche or this geographic area, is because you're not in the speaker circuit and you're trying to enter it, right? And I'll share with you how to do that, but you got to be very mindful that a lot of these bubbles are separated. And what you're trying to do as a very strong speaker is combine those circuits together where you have a wholesome experience where you could tap into multiple speaker circuits at the same time. Okay. Even as they evolve, depending on the topic, the location, and the audiences that you serve. Right. And so with that said, how do you get in the speaker circuit? One thing I would say, especially as someone who runs a organization that hosts hundreds of events throughout the year, I'm on both sides of the equation. So I'm able to see real time what happens behind the scenes when it comes to speaker booking. So I'm going to share with you that secret today if you didn't know, because many of you reach out to events to try to get speaker bookings and you realize it's just not working. This is the reason why, and this will really help shape your strategy and how you outreach event organizers in the future. So when you look at the speaker lineup for any event, any conference, any program, 70% of that event, once it's announced, it's already booked. Okay. They already know who their influencer hook, who they're going to use as a headliner. They already know who their partners and sponsors are. Obviously, they're still trying to grow and get more, right? But those people are already going to be in the speaker lineup. And then they already have networks, right? Referral systems where stakeholders and alumni can refer people to speak at the event. So people who are on the event team, like, hey, I know someone will be a great fit for this panel, great for this keynote, great for this fireside chat. So 70% of the event lineup is already pre-booked. So you find that sometimes you're reaching out and you feel like you're not getting deals simply because you didn't realize that, when the event was announced, they already had a agenda lineup from the very beginning. Right. So with that said, another 20% is booked through the R&D team. This is when the team, the event management team who actually sources and books speakers for the event, they do kind of like an outreach and R&D research process to research top speakers based on what they can find on the internet. So they search, they do research. This is why your content leadership on the internet is what's going to give you the visible content pool to get booked, right? So right now you're already at like about 95% of the way, 90 to 95% of the way, right? And then the last 5 to 10% is that itty bitty space that you're trying to tap into, which is new speakers. This is when you're trying to do a cold outreach, trying to get on an event where you're trying to apply to the website where they have a call for speakers referendum, and then you submit your name to be considered. It's only 10%, 5 to 10% of the lineup, right? So the odds are already stacked against you in many different ways. So how do you break through the mold and increase your visibility to move to the 20% mark or even the 70% mark to get that speaker engagement, right? And part of that is like trying to close a loop and try to get plugged in into the speaker circuit. No pun intended, but it's the best visual that I could provide to get you to mentally understand like just how systematic this is within the event industry. So here's what you do. If you decide you want to be in a speaker circuit, how do you get plugged in? For me, I shared this early before. You got to start with your identity metrics, right? Because it's the easiest way for people to align you because you already visually represent the thought leadership that the person wants to get you for. So, for example, my speaker circuit bubbles are women's events, tech entrepreneurship events, personal branding, Africa, Caribbean, and diaspora programming. And if you look at my photo, I put my photo right there. Clearly, I'm going to get engagements for speaking for women's event. Clearly, I'm going to get events when it comes to that Afro, Black, Caribbean, diaspora networks. I automatically give credibility in these spaces, y'all. Right? This is what I'm trying to tell you. To stop fighting, big players in the market. Just start with where you already exist and operate in. And I promise you, it will start to grow and manifest over time. And so by creating that momentum, then I could explore the other topics that I talk about, like real estate, agriculture, AI, and so on and so on and so forth. But that core bubble of circuits that I've created myself that I tap into help tremendously, right? So once now you've created a strong speaker profile, you're not in the right speaker circuits. Now you want to generate opportunity for yourself. And what that looks like is social media, right? The best way to create new, consistent opportunities for yourself is social media posting, content strategy, right? I have a full session on content strategy and how to leverage social media on my website. You just go to ChristineNtim.com. But the point is, social media is the best way to generate opportunity for yourself. And I'm going to share with you how I've done that strategically over the past couple of years when it comes to generating speaking engagements. First and foremost, I already shared this already. The power of one page on the internet, my LinkedIn profile has been the best social media pipeline of opportunity of all time for me. Right. And what I do on a consistent basis to generate opportunities and speaking engagements, I do the posts, right? When I'm speaking at an event, I share it. So this is me speaking during the United General Assembly this week at the Unstoppable Africa Conference, a very notable event in New York City. And I shared there, I'm speaking about my thought leadership on the main stage for this event, right? My newsletter, I have a private newsletter, but also share a public version of it on LinkedIn. So that way people are seeing me on real time and have thousands of subscribers just for that alone. I even put top speaking engagements that I know that I've done really well and the ones that are very notable, very credible. I put it as a position because, again, I want people to know that I am a professional public speaker. So, for example, there you see my TED Talk video, my speaking engagement is not just listed under my bio, it's actually a position on my profile. Same thing with my speaking engagement as a public speaker for the United States government, right? And then last but not least, generating opportunities through weekly webinars like this one, right? Because a lot of you are engaging with me. If you're engaging with me for the first time, like, wow, this is her energy. This is the content that she brings. You start to get to know me over time. So the power of that one page has been a consistent source of speaking engagements just through this alone. And I start with making sure like my banner, my profile is very clear that I'm letting you know, book me, I'm ready to go, right? And then second thing is like me and my team have done a great job. But in the early days, I was highly active on platforms like Eventbrite. You got to pick a platform, y'all. Anytime you have a strategy, you need to go have a go-to space to dominate that strategy. So for example, when I said social media, I didn't just say social media. I said LinkedIn is my go-to strategy pipeline for speaking engagements. So when I'm talking about cold outreach, when you're outreaching to event organizers, my go-to platform is Eventbrite, right? And to this day, it's been great. So I follow up, obviously with people in my network. If I'm at an event, I try to get referrals, make warm and hot leads that way. But cold outreach, I reach out to about 10 to 20 events, literally on a monthly cycle basis. My team does this on repeat, right? Where we're reaching out to people and say like, hey, we think Christine could be a good fit here. We think that she could speak on this topic. I see that, you're hosting this event. Did you consider this topic on the agenda, right? And give people the areas where you be a good fit. A lot of times people just send and kind of blast their speaker on one page or profile, and that's just really annoying. Like, actually do the work of looking at the agenda, look at the lineup, look at the caliber of speakers, go on the event website, and then provide the value. Because when you make it easier for event organizers to book you, they will book you, right? And so leveraging that as my cold outreach template for reaching out to all three networks. I have templates and scripts for that. So definitely comment if you want access to that. I have it's part of my speaker program for you to get access to the templates and spreadsheets that I use to outreach these events through Eventbrite and other platforms. So with that said, now that you have this way of generating opportunity, both organically through social media, but also with outbound outreach through cold outreach messaging, now you're able to kind of create a consistent flow of events and a pipeline of event speaking engagement that you're going to do on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind, quality over quantity. And that's what I learned through my speaker career journey, that you don't want to be speaking everywhere. You want to speak at places that are targeted and benefit you in the long run, and also serve your audience well. So you can show up as your best self, giving the best content and giving the best leadership humanly possible. So for pipeline, the way I do this, and this is something that I kind of preliminarily share in the previous slide, but essentially I have my outbound strategy and my inbound strategy. My outbound strategy is I leverage calendar cycles, right? So I know to reach out to certain events at the right time throughout the year. So during Women's History Month, right? I'm a female entrepreneur. Perfect time to reach out to all the events that's happening during that month. Black Friday, I know there's a lot of content around how to end the year, how to sell things. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a great content speaker for that time frame, right? So looking at the event calendar, looking at like how people customize their seasons and leveraging those time frames to reach out to organizers, because they're more prone to respond to you because you're reaching out at the right time. Submitting your profile to platforms like speaker bureaus is a great way to get booked as well. I don't have time to go over the full metric around how to leverage speaker bureaus, but this is another great opportunity. And inbound, I leverage campaign cycles. So I monetize my free engagements, my free speaking engagement, by promoting really great products to people. So I have a whole product suite. It doesn't have to be a paid product, right? It could be a free product that gets them into the pipeline to pay for a premium product, right? And I have a whole course on how to create digital products through your personal brand. But essentially, it's really creating a product suite of things that once you do these speaking engagements, that you can offer the audience as a call to action post your speaking engagement, where they can still stay in your network of audiences that you can monetize over time. Really phenomenal strategy, which is why when I do take on speaking engagements for free, I'm able to balance that with my paid speaking engagements. And again, don't speak everywhere. Try to make sure you're targeted in the beginning. If you're starting your speaker career, obviously try to get as much engagements under your belt so you can build credibility. There's a tipping point that you go past credibility, and now you need to be targeted. This is how I get targeted on creating my pipeline strategy, right? And then finally, build that equity, right? Once you're able to do all this, where you create the speaker profile, you're in the right speaker circuits, you're generating opportunity, you've created a consistent pipeline flow. Now you're able to build personal brand equity through your journey, your story, your experiences, where people are looking to you for thought leadership. And I always tell people, don't always keep asking people for paid engagements without really making deposit into your community, right? So do the free engagements. I always tell people it's okay to do free speaking engagements, but do it strategically. Leverage references and recommendations and referrals. If you did really well at a certain speaking engagements, ask them to give you referrals, ask them to give you recommendations, and create free resources. These are a great way to monetize audiences after really great speaking engagements, because you're able to provide free resources to go beyond the 15 to 60-minute talk that you provided to that audience, right? And so with that said, this is my scope method. And I shared before, I've created an entire system around this method where I'm able to always consistently update my speaker profile and to the speaker circuits that I want to do with thought leadership around certain topics that address the audiences I want to serve, which creates opportunity for me to monetize, get new career opportunities, offers, pitches, and deal flow, and create a consistent pipeline, which eventually creates a strong personal brand where that equity could be leveraged to launch new ventures, get new opportunities, and so on and so forth. So a really great scope system. Now, we're coming on to the end here where I want to share with you now how I was able to take this system and go digital with virtual events. And how do you do that, right? So how I do that is 3 simple rules. There's 3 simple rules that I do to take this system and go virtual. First of all, I started creating virtual events to get speaking engagements as well. And this was by far huge. And the 3 rules you need to keep in mind when you're trying to create virtual events is, first and foremost, the size of your strategy matters. What does that mean? If you're going to get into the event industry and start hosting virtual events, so that way you can start getting visibility so you can get more speaking engagements, you got to know the size of the strategy that you want to implement. So are you going to be solo, right? So for example, these weekly Wednesday webinars are solo. It's just me as a thought leader coming online on a regular basis, and that is the event. That's it, the webinar. Is it a fireside interview? Are you going to interview? There's a big industry for that right now. You see all these podcast interviews, all these YouTube videos where you have thought leaders are interviewing guests on their shows. So is that the format you want to do, where you're curating thought leadership through other influencers through fireside interview events? Or do you want to create a conversation across multiple people? And that's called a panel, right? Very simple, because through a less now becomes a panel with a moderator. Now, once you get beyond 5 people per engagement, now you're at the conference, the summit stage, and the sky's the limit with that one. But the point is like, which one are you able to do consistently on a regular basis? And that size of your strategy really affects the frequency of when you're able to do that to generate speaking engagements over time. So the second rule is knowing how to create virtual events at the right time with the right location virtually. I highly recommend that you use really great tools, right? And understand the cycle for promotion. So usually, for those of you who are not really, expert virtual event organizers, I always tell people you need a 90-day cycle to promote, outreach, close speakers, close partners, close audience signups for an event to get the right visibility. Obviously, with me, I could close an event, launch and start an event within a 48-hour cycle to as far as 30-day cycles. But that's because we're really experienced as a team generating events, right? I mean, technically right now I'm doing this on a weekly basis, right? This Webinar Wednesday series. But the point is, if you're really trying to be serious about this, then you need to be able to know about the 90-day marketing cycle for making sure you get the right thought leadership for the event, the right audience signups, and so on and so forth. Okay, so pretty much 4 times a year. And last but not least, you need to be targeted, because keep in mind, you're trying to convert this into opportunities, right? So you need to always have the right theme, audience, and call to action for every virtual event that you host. So one thing for me is I'm very clear the audiences that I serve. So you're not going to see me just hosting like a cyber event for professionals in Mumbai, right? I will be doing probably personal brand summits and events for women entrepreneurs. That makes more sense because it adds to my credibility, and it's the targeted audience I want to serve that I want to get into the speaker circuit for, right? So these are the 3 main rules to create virtual events. And of course, aside of these 3 rules, make sure that as you create these virtual events that you just keep experiment over and over and over until you get really good at it. And you'll find the right balance and frequency of events that you could do per year to add as much visibility to your profile as a speaker as possible. Okay. And then last but not least, make sure, as a bonus, I want to share with you some of the tools that I use to host virtual events. It's not that complicated. I don't use major tech tools. I have a full session on secrets to managing your personal brand on social media, the top 10 tools for success, my tech stack for hosting events and doing programs online. But the point is, this is the answer to the original question that you signed up to be a part of this session about. When you first came online, you asked, how do I get public speaking opportunities via virtual events? This is it. This is my scope method, where literally by leveraging virtual events, I'm able to build my speaker profile, get into the right speaker circuit networks, all right, generate opportunity, create consistent opportunity that creates a pipeline that's monetizable, that eventually gets me out there to open the right doors for my career and build the right personal brand equity over time. This is it. Very simple, very easy to do, and very systematic and predictable, where you start to have predictable income streams, pipeline of events. It just starts to really build a life of its own over time. And this is my method. So hopefully today you found this event session useful. We talked about a lot. I see a lot of you guys are commenting and sending me DMs, and I appreciate it. So again, hopefully you found this session, how to get public speaking opportunities via virtual events. I know it was a lot of content, but for those of you who want to now implement this strategy and want me to share with you how to do that, look, there's ways that you can still engage with me offline post this program. I'm actually going live in the next 48 hours, my full program. And I want to share that with you. For those of you who are still in this session, let me share with you how to do that, right? Where we could go literally from this discussion that we had today to actually implementing many of these strategies immediately, especially for those of you who are trying to make this year the year that you really build a public speaking career profile, and one that is consistent when it comes to income streams and revenue. Because right now the internet is so filled with different people doing side hustles, side gigs, online businesses, new projects. You want to be one of the few that understands that, because having just a single career path is dead. You need to know that you need to be versatile with your career choices and the strategies that you use to really stay on top and stay ahead. And building a public speaker career profile is a part of that journey. So again, public speaking is a powerful opportunity for many of you on this session. So I challenge you to rethink through, how do you feel about, really being able to be in a position of opportunity just by literally giving thought leadership virtually online on a regular basis, right? Because right now, your individual experiences, and this is something that I've said countless times through many of my webinars, many of my workshops, I literally, at this point, I'm preaching, right? That your individual experiences is thought leadership at this point. We live in an influencer economy. So your experience is thought leadership for someone else, is the blueprint that someone else needs to build on the strategy and outlook that they need to build for themselves, right? And so as you think about your workspace and what you're doing from home, your story will eventually give you access to influence and opportunity if you're able to leverage it properly to create value for other people. Right. And so for me, obviously, I have spoken at so many different countless events. I've monetized my thought leadership through speaking engagements that I've done both virtually online and in person. And I've navigated this space. Today, you heard about the system that I've used to implement getting speaker bookings on the regular. Many of you are saying, like, okay, now how do I monetize it? How do I take it to the next level? How do I implement this immediately? I'm pleased to share that I am launching the public speaking booking business program. It's going to be a live 3 to 4 hour session this Friday, where I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how I'm able to do this. I'm going to walk you through behind the scenes. I'm going to share with you my spreadsheets, my programs, my bookings, the thought leadership that I create, how I create content, how I generate opportunities, everything that I've done over the past couple of years. I'll share that with you. And of course, I'll share with you how to do speaker packaging, how to, leverage booking sites, because that's something that, in today's world now, that, frustrating part of just always doing cold outreach is no longer necessary. There's now booking platforms that gets you booked. And I will share with you one secret platform that I use on a regular basis that has been consistent flow of income for me automatically online. Just one speaker booking platform is really, really good and easy to sign up for. So I'll share that with you today as well. So with that said, like I said, I go live in 48 hours for this program. So if you're interested, comment speaking on the chat feed, and I'll share with you a DM private invitation to be able to access that program immediately. So again, comment speaking, and I'll get that to you, because it'll obviously be the best 3-hour investment you can make to be with me and go beyond this conversation that we had today and implement it immediately, because you want to experience this reality on a regular basis, also from home, like what I'm doing right now, and get paid to do it. Talk about things that you know how to do, that you love to do on a regular basis. Hit me up. I would love to be able to support you with that through this program that's going live in the next 48 hours. So with that said, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for today's session. Hopefully I see some of you this Friday for this amazing program. I'm going to share with you all my spreadsheets, thought leadership, and more importantly, just really help you too, right? You could ask me live questions and Q&A. So with that said, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to answering the questions on Common Thread and seeing you here, same place, same time next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Christine and Tim.
Christine, Sofran, Ntim.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.